Hello to all. Today we will discuss about the organization of the shoot apex. Now we have already studied that what is apical meristem, that we have studied, and apical meristem is actually found at the apex of the root and the shoot. Now today we have to study that what type of the organization is found at the root and the shoot apex where the apical meristem is found. Alright, so very first you must know that in algae and fungi, apical meristem is absent. Apical meristem is absent. In algae and fungi, apical meristem is absent. In them, growth is not restricted to the apex. In them, the growth is not restricted to the apex. In them, growth occur from whole body. Growth occur from whole body, and this growth is called diffused growth. This growth is called diffused growth. Are you getting? In algae and fungi, apical meristem is absent. In them, the growth occurs from the whole body, and this is called as the diffused growth. And you must remember that in animals also, the growth is not restricted to a particular area. In animals also, growth is diffused. Growth is diffused. So in algae and fungi also, the growth is diffused. Alright. Now, to study the organization of the shoot and the root apex, first of all, many theories are available, and out of that, the very first theory is apical cell theory, right? And this apical cell theory was given by a scientist known as Nageli. This theory was given by a scientist known as Nageli. According to this theory, the root and the shoot apex consist of a single meristematic apical cell. According to this theory, apical cell theory is applicable for both the root as well as the shoot apex. According to this theory, see, whether it will be accepted or discarded, that is another question. But apical cell theory says and suggests, which was given by Nageli, that the root and the shoot apex consist of a single meristematic apical cell which divides and forms plant body. But remember this thing, that I am putting a note here, that such type of single apical cell is found in root oblique shoot apex of some algae like Dictyota, Sargassum, and Fucus. Because just now we have said that in algae and fungi apical meristem is absent, but in some algae, remember this thing, I am not talking about the algae, I am talking about some algae, because as soon as I will be calling it as that in algae you will say that apical meristem is absent, then how you can say that the apical cell is present? So I am saying that some such type of the single apical cell is found in the root and the shoot apex of some algae, exceptionally like Dictyota, Sargassum and Fucus. Some algae, bryophytes, majority of the bryophytes have this single apical cell in the root and the shoot apex. Bryophytes and some pteridophytes. Some pteridophyte. Is it clear? So such type of the single apical cell is found in root and shoot apex of some algae such as Dictyota, Sargassum and Fucus, all bryophytes and some pteridophytes. So it may be applicable, this theory may be applicable to some algae, some pteridophytes and bryophytes. But remember this thing, again I am putting a note here that in ferns, in some pteridophytes, no doubt apical cell is present, but in ferns, majority of the ferns, gymnosperms and angiosperms, such type of apical cell is absent. Such type of apical cell is absent. Remember this thing, that in these plants, apical meristem consists of many cells that we know very well. Apical meristem, we are not denying that they are not having apical meristem, but apical cell theory suggests and says about the single cell found in the apex, which is responsible for the growth of the plant. But this theory, apical cell theory, is not applicable to ferns, gymnosperm and angiosperms. Why? Because in them apical cell is absent. In them the apical meristem consists of many cells, but the apical cell theory is talking about the single cell, and hence for these category of the plants the apical cell theory was discarded. The apical cell theory was discarded. This theory may be true for some algae, bryophytes and some pteridophytes, but not applicable for the ferns, gymnosperms and the angiosperms. Fine, is it clear? Now coming to the next theory, because we are talking about the various theories to explain the organization of the root and the shoot apex. So coming to the second theory, which was a very famous theory at that time, and that is known as the Histogen theory. Very, very famous theory at that time when it was launched. Alright, so just now we will be talking about the next theory, and that is known as the Histogen theory. Now this Histogen theory was first of all given by, a scientist whose name was the Henstein. Histogen theory was given by Henstein. Alright, so let's talk about Histogen theory. Histogen theory. This Histogen theory is also applicable for roots as well as shoot. It was given to explain organization of root oblique shoot apex by a scientist known as Henstein. But this theory is more true for the root apex. This theory is more true for root apex. Means it is good theory to explain the organization of the root apex. Why? I will say you within a couple of minutes. So Histogen theory was given by Henstein. According to this theory, in shoot apex as well as root apex, according to this theory, in shoot apex as well as root apex, there are three regions, or we can say this, there are three layers. According to this theory, in shoot apex and root apex, there are how many layers? Three layers, like this. Right? This is known as the dermatogen. The outermost region is called as the dermatogen. The middle one is known as the peribelum. Middle one is known as the peribelum, and the innermost is known as the pleurum. Innermost is known as the pleurum. Alright? Again I am repeating, according to this theory, in shoot apex and root apex, there are how many regions or layers? Three regions are there. The very first is known as outermost, known as the dermatogen. And what is the prime function of the dermatogen? That it forms epidermis. What is its prime function? That it forms the epidermis. Fine. The middle one is known as the peribelum. Middle one is known as the peribelum, and it forms cortex. It forms cortex. Now three things are included in cortex if you have studied anatomy. That is, cortex means hypodermis is included here. General cortex is also included here, and endodermis is also included here. So always remember, hypodermis plus the endodermis, hypodermis plus the endodermis and the general cortex together called as the cortex. So peribelum, which is known as the middle layer, found in the root and the shoot apex, forms the cortex according to this theory. Now whether it is true or not, that we will be discussing just now. Now pleurum. Now pleurum forms the stele. Pleurum forms the stele, and stele includes pericycle, pith rays, and vascular bundles. Alright, but remember this thing, that this theory was discarded. Why this theory was discarded? Why this theory was discarded? To explain organization of shoot apex. This theory I have said you this theory is more better to explain the organization of the root apex. But why this theory was discarded to explain the organization of the shoot apex? Because in higher plants, such as the gymnosperms and the angiosperm, in higher plants, the apex, the shoot apex, higher plants, the shoot apex does not consist of these histogen layers. Why this theory was discarded? Because in higher plants, the shoot apex does not consist of these type of the histogen layers, what the Henstein is talking about. Henstein says that in the shoot apex as well as the root apex, but it is more better for the root apex. In shoot apex, he says that there are three layers: dermatogen, peribelum and pleurum, which forms respectively epidermis, hypodermis, general cortex and endodermis by peribelum, and pericycle, pith rays and vascular bundles by the pleurum. But such type of the organization which is shown here is not present at the shoot apex, and that's why this theory was discarded for the shoot apex. This theory was discarded for the shoot apex. Now let's talk about the root apex. root apex. Now if we talk about the root apex, especially if I talk about the monocot roots, especially if I talk about the monocot roots, if I talk about the monocot roots, so in monocot roots, in root apex of monocot roots, not dicots, in root apex of monocot roots, instead of 3 histogens, four histogens are found. Instead of 3 histogens, how many histogens are found? 4 histogens are found. But just now I am talking only about the monocot roots. Remember this, only monocot. Which one? Dermatogen, periblenum, as such what you have studied in the shoot apex, plurum, and the 4th one is additional one, which is very important. This 4th one is very important, and that is known as the calyptrogen. Alright. Now this calyptrogen is the additional histogen. It is the additional histogen. Alright. Say for if I draw a diagram here, so imagine it that this is the dermatogen. I am making the apex of a monocot root. So this is the dermatogen, and there is an additional layer found here, like this type. This is an additional layer, and this is known as the calyptrogen. This is the calyptrogen. The middle one is called as, this one is called as the periblenum, and the innermost one is known as the plurum. Are you getting? So how many histogens you are able to see here? Calyptrogen, dermatogen, periblenum and plurum. Now the question arises, what is the role of this calyptrogen? So remember this thing, that in monocot roots, calyptrogen forms root cap. Very important one. Question was asked in NEET exam, that it forms root cap. It forms the root cap. Remember. And remember this thing, that in, or we can say it as that because of the formation of root cap, because of formation of root cap, the apex is subterminal. Very important one. Calyptrogen forms root cap. Say for this is the root cap. So if imagine that, say for if this is the root apex, so this root apex is actually covered by the root cap. So because of the root cap, remember this thing, that this apex will be always subterminal. So if it is asked you in the exam that in the case of the roots where the root cap is present, then in that case, what about the apex? It is terminal or subterminal? Subterminal means it is not at the tip. Because at the tip root cap is present. Just behind the tip, root apex is present in these, right? Where the calyptrogen is found. So definitely it will be called as subterminal. But this, instead of the 3 histogens, 4 histogens are found, and the 4th histogen is called as the calyptrogen, which is the additional histogen, is the only feature of the monocot roots. Remember this thing, that in dicot roots, remember this thing, that in dicot roots only 3 histogens are present. Remember this thing. What I have said you, that in dicot roots, only 3 histogens found. Only 3 estrogen found. Means calyptrogen is absent, because I have said just now said you that calyptrogen is only found in the case of the monocot roots. So in dicot roots only 3 estrogen found and calyptrogen is absent. Then question arises that in dicot root is root cap present or not? In dicot root is root cap present? So answer is yes, in dicot root, though the calyptrogen is absent, but then also root cap is found. Means root cap is found in dicot root as well as monocot root. But now the question arises, who forms root cap if calyptrogen is absent in dicot root? The question arises, who forms the root cap if calyptrogen is absent in dicot root? So you will answer it that dermatogen, because dermatogen is of course present. So dermatogen is the outermost one. So dermatogen will form root cap in dicot root. Are you getting? So remember this thing that in root apex of monocot roots 4 estrogens are found: dermatogen, peribulum, plurum and calyptrogen. And calyptrogen forms the root cap. But in the case of the dicot root, calyptrogen is absent. Only dermatogen, peribulum and plurum is found. And the root cap is formed by the dermatogen layer. Are you getting or not? Now let's talk about some additional points also. Now it's not necessary that always the apex will be having 3 estrogen or 4 estrogen only. Sometimes the number of these estrogens may be 1 or 2. Exceptionally, there may be 1 or 2 estrogens. Say for, I will be quoting an example here, that in case of ranunculus, if you have heard about this term ranunculus, in case of the ranunculus, only 1 estrogen found. You have seen that in the monocot roots 4 estrogens were found. In the dicot root there were 3 estrogens found. But in case of the ranunculus, if we talk about the root apex of the ranunculus, only 1 estrogen found. And in case of casuarina, 2 estrogens found. So these are some exceptions. Also, you have to remember one thing, that in hydrophytes means plants which are found in the water body. In hydrophytes, like pistia, root cap is absent. See, you have to remember this thing, that in hydrophytes the plants are found in the water body, so they don't have to protect their root apex from the soil particles, so they are not having the root cap is absent. Instead they have root pocket. So remember this thing. And one more thing, that in hydrophytes like pistia, root cap is absent. Instead they have the root pocket, and root cap is generally single. Root cap is generally single, but multiple root cap is found in screw pine, which is called as pendulous, or in Hindi you can call it as pendulous, or Hindi you can call it as pendulous. Is it clear or not? So what I want to say, that Histogen theory sounds good for explaining the organization of the root apex. Now there is one more theory, Quiescent center theory. There is one more theory known as the Quiescent center theory, applicable for monocot roots, applicable for monocot roots, and it was given by Cloves. According to this theory, a quiescent center, quiescent means a region where low mitotic activity is found. According to this theory, which was given by the Cloves for the monocot root, especially it was given for the maize. Already, according to this theory, quiescent center, a region where low mitotic activity is found, a quiescent center is found between dermatogen and calyptrogen, because you know very well calyptrogen is only found in the case of the monocot root. So say for this is the root apex and this is the dermatogen. Say for if this is the calyptrogen, because calyptrogen is outermost, this is the calyptrogen, and if this is the root cap, say for if this is the root cap, then in calyptrogen there is a quiescent center. There is a quiescent center which is inverted cup like region, Quiescent means peace zone. Quiescent, the literal meaning of the word quiescent is peace zone, where there is no activity found. So this region is having low mitotic activity, and it is found in between the dermatogen and the calyptrogen in the monocot roots. Now at this region the DNA content, DNA, RNA and protein content is too low. Nucleus is not prominent, and also there is low mitotic activity. This is the feature of this quiescent center. So this quiescent center theory was especially given by Cloves for explaining the organization of the root apex in the monocot root. Right? Now these cells will divide only when root apex is injured, that is, it is damaged. Are you getting? When the root apex is damaged, remember this thing, when the root apex is damaged, in that case only these cells of the quiescent center found in between the dermatogen and the peribelum, they will divide and will fulfill the injured part, So this quiescent center theory is applicable to explain the organization of the monocot root apex. Is it clear? Now, because we are talking about the theories to explain the organization of the root and the shoot apex, we are coming to the next theory. And that theory is fully applicable for explaining the organization of the shoot apex. It is the best theory, right? It is best treated theory to explain the organization of the shoot apex. So to explain shoot apex, best theory, it is not applicable for the root. Na? Shoot apex, best theory is Tunica corpus theory. Tunica corpus theory given by Schmidt. This theory is called as the Tunica corpus theory given by Schmidt. Best theory. According to this theory, there are two regions in shoot apex. There are two regions in shoot apex like this. There are two regions in shoot apex. The outer region is called as the tunica and the inner region is called as the corpus. How many regions are there? Very, very simple theory. According to this theory, there are two regions in the shoot apex. One is known as the tunica. This is what? The outer region. This is the outer region. According to this theory, there are two regions in shoot apex, and this theory is based on plane of division. This theory is based on plane of division. According to this theory, outer region is called tunica. It is in the shoot apex. It is generally single layered, and in it division occur in one plane only. One plane, that is anticlinal. One plane, anticlinal plane only. What is anticlinal? What is anticlinal? The division which occur perpendicular to cell surface. Division which occur perpendicular to cell surface is anticlinal division. So here anticlinal division occur. It is generally single layered. Now it forms, what is its prime role? It forms epidermis. It forms epidermis. Sometimes it is multi-layered. In that case, outer layer forms epidermis, while rest layer forms other tissues along with corpus. One more thing, cells are small sized. The cells are small sized. Remember this thing, that the cells of the tunica are small sized. Is it clear? Cells are small sized. And one more thing, that in case of the another one, that is known as the corpus, cells are big sized. Inner region of shoot apex form, inner region is called corpus. Cells are big in sized. It is multi-layered and form all other tissues of plant except epidermis. It forms all the tissues of the plant body. Okay? So cells are big sized. Here the cells are big sized. So this theory is the best theory. And one more thing, that here division occur in anticlinal as well as periclinal plane. What is anticlinal? I have already said you, division which occur perpendicular to the cell surface, and periclinal division which occur parallel to cell surface. Division which occur parallel to cell surface is called as periclinal. So here division occur periclinal as well as anticlinal. One more thing, tunica increases the surface area. It increases surface area. And corpus increases volume. Are you getting beta? Corpus increases the volume. So this is the best theory to explain the organization of the shoot apex, known as the tunica corpus theory. Alright. And this theory was based on the plane of division. Fine. Now coming to the last theory, and that is known as Corpus-Kappe theory. Though this theory has not gained so much of the popularity, but this theory was also given by or for the root apex. This theory is also given to explain the organization of the root apex. Alright. So the last theory what I am discussing about the root apex, to explain the organization of the root apex, is Corpus-Kappe theory. Though it was not so much accepted and it's not so much popular, but at least you must know, because we are studying the organization of the shoot and the root apex in details. So Corpus-Kappe theory is for the root apex, and it was given by Schwab. This theory is somewhat similar to tunica corpus theory given for the shoot apex. This is similar to tunica corpus theory given for shoot apex. Why? Because this theory is also based on plane of division. This theory says that in root apex, two division occur. One is transverse and another is longitudinal, and because of which a T-shaped structure formed. Why T-shaped? Because one is transverse division, another is longitudinal division. Alright, and corpus means the body, and kappe means the cap. Corpus-Kappe means corpus kappe. One forms the body and another forms the cap. Alright, but this theory was not so much popular for the root apex. Alright, given by the Schwab. Alright, so students, this was the video, complete video, detailed video based on the organization of the shoot and the root apex, that what type of the organization is found in the root and the shoot apex. I am trying to upload more and more videos for the English medium students also, and please like and share this video, and also subscribe my channel, and also press the bell icon so that you can get notifications of my video at proper time. My videos are totally based on content and quality. So like them, share them, and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot.